Alrighty, hello everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Ben Jessel. I'm a first year master's student in the Marriage and Family Therapy program at Oklahoma State University. This presentation that I'm doing is co-authored by Jordan Schuler, who's also a master's student in the Marriage and Family Therapy program, and then Dr. Matt Brozzi, who is the Marriage and Family Therapy program director. So today we're just going to be given a quick introduction to social media and smartphone use. And we're going to be talking mainly about how does social media and smartphone use affect our brains, and then also learning how to kind of identify the ways that it is affecting how we feel, how we think, those kinds of things, and learning how to grow an awareness of that. And so kind of we have a task with this video, and then we're doing the follow-up, but kind of the task that I want you to do right now is to place your phone face up with the screen up next to you, and just hold off from checking it for the rest of the presentation. It's okay if you get notifications. Actually, that's kind of a good thing for our exercise, but just don't pick it up and check those notifications. It's okay to take a quick glance, but what we're trying to do is really trying to pay attention to those notifications that you receive, and even if you're not receiving any notifications, kind of what you notice that your body's feeling and what you're thinking. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But first, I want to give a quick introduction to our brains on phones, and I'll probably have, a little bit more detailed information on this later on with our follow-up. But our brains, they actually react in ways that encourage us when we use our phones. And so whenever we use our phone, it's our brain is kind of recording, that it's having a good time on the phone, it's enjoying it, and therefore it wants to kind of bring us back, and it wants to say, oh, put that phone, in front of my face again. And that is mainly due to the brain releasing chemicals or neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. And serotonin is kind of known as like the happy hormone in your brain, and then dopamine is kind of the feel-good hormone. So very similar things are happening in your brain, and this is constantly kind of going on when we're using social media or using kind of technology in general. Your brain is kind of consistently releasing these hormones, and then that causes us to want to come back to whatever activity we were doing that was making us release those things, those feel-good chemicals. And so these chemicals are, surprisingly enough, it's very similar to how the brain reacts whenever someone is gambling or using substances or engaging in, really like risky, thrill-seeking behaviors. The brain is reacting very similarly. So it's almost all the same to the brain whenever you're using social media or engaging in some other activity like gambling. Now, I want to be careful about how I'm talking about this, because I don't want to just be here and say, social media is bad and it because it makes you feel good, it's bad. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think that there's uses for social media, good, bad, but we want to have a more detailed conversation about that, and kind of learn how to use social media better, use technology better to serve us. And so with that, and talking about how social media kind of affects us and affects the way our brain works, we want to talk about something called mindfulness and being mindful. This is, actively monitoring our reactions to, in this case, to the way technology and phones are making us feel, and just monitoring our thoughts and our feelings in general. So yeah, here it is right here. Mindfulness is a way to monitor and be aware of our reactions to social media use, and not just social media use. You can apply this to anything, any activity you engage in, and even just day to day, being able to monitor your thoughts and feelings and labeling them. And we're going to talk more about that. But there's talking about the ways to be mindful. There's two kinds of mindfulness that we really talk about, two kinds of mindfulness activities that we can engage in, are those that connect us to the mind. So those are kind of what we're talking about before, of being able to monitor what's going on in our heads and being able to name the thoughts that we're having, name the feelings that we're having, and being able to really think through them. And then also connecting to the body along with the mind. That's kind of another type of mindfulness of engaging in actively seeking where we're maybe feeling stress in our body. How is our body feeling? Being aware of, this makes my body feel this way. And so that's a process. That's another process of mindfulness, and really something that's an easy way to kind of remember and give guidance to engaging in mindfulness is the activity or just noticing and naming. So again, kind of what I talked about before, if you're having a thought, noticing that thought and then giving it a name and being able to kind of recognize it in the future. When we talk about mindfulness and what we're looking for in our heads, we're looking for thoughts or beliefs. So I am thinking this, and then feelings, I'm feeling that is making me feel this way, or images, things that kind of like pop up in our head, like the image that I have right now. Whenever I think of mindfulness, I think of kind of this brain that's kind of lit up. So that's like an image that I have associated with the word mindfulness. So that's what we mean by images. So kind of tying that in with what we're doing right now with like your phone being on the table is if you receive a message again or notification, we want to pay close attention. We want to engage in that mindfulness activity and pay close attention to what your mind and your body are experiencing. And just kind of keep note of your thoughts and emotions when using social media. And you can do this like a specific mindfulness activity is engaging in like a body scan. So for me, whenever I'm really stressed and I'm kind of looking for where is that stress in my body, a lot of it will be, in my chest, in my stomach, and I can work on, maybe breathing through that. And that's another mindfulness activity, but just being aware of where's that stress in my body, and also knowing that, I am stressed right now because I do have that feeling that I can recognize. So kind of where we're going with all this and where we're kind of going in our follow-up meeting is that social media, it's important to recognize that social media is kind of a main part of our current society. It's not going anywhere. It's getting more and more popular. It's almost, it feels like at this point, it's becoming a necessary part of being a human and connecting with people and being, a social person. So it seems like social media is really kind of evolving into that. And so with that, there's both positives and negatives that can come from social media. And I know when I was younger, I heard a lot of negative. And so while we are going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about the risks that come with social media, we also want to acknowledge that there are some positives and that there's ways to connect using social media and ways to make us happier. And so the main takeaway for today and moving forward is that we really just want to learn how to use social media and technology in general well. We want to learn how to use it better. We want to learn how to use it for our benefit. And so this is kind of what I'm leaving you with, this last slide, and then going into our follow-up. I just want you to take a few minutes to write down what you're thinking, feeling, or mentally seeing, talking about those images, and just write a few things down. It doesn't have to be anything that sounds, super smart. Like for me, I'm thinking about, how I'm doing this presentation right now. And I'm feeling a bit of stress, hoping that I'm doing this presentation well. And so those are two things that I would just write down. So what you might write down is the experience you're having with your phone sitting next to you, or it could be completely unrelated. We just want to practice this mindfulness activity and then kind of go in talking about it whenever we do our follow-up meeting. But until then, until the follow-up, thanks for listening and thanks for participating. I'll see you in a bit.